on. Ah, here it is! Okay, thank you for your lovely voice. Now it's time for the video. 36 minutes! Okay. Hopefully it doesn't lag the stream. Wait, do I do it like this? Can I just be in the corner? I'll just be in the corner like this. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, this guy. I remember him. Oh, wow. He created a new video. Nice.
Look, it doesn't take a math major to figure out that there's a pretty big gap between the ending of NieR Replicant in 3474 and the beginning of NieR Automata, which takes place in 11945.
I even forgot that that fight takes place. Like, you fight giant machines.
Now, I ain't no math major, so I'm just gonna pump these into Google real quick.
Okay, this is killing me because I'm watching it on full screen and it's hurting my eyes. Wait, but even if I do this, I'm still gonna be in full screen. Shit! Well, maybe I can watch... No, I can't do that. This is gonna suck forever. Damn it. What if I move backwards? It makes it smaller. This is not long enough. Oh, son of a whore. I'm gonna figure this out. Come on, Kuma, use your head. What do you have here, Kuma? I have a cord. What is this cord? I do not know. Is it an extender? Yes, it is. No, wait, that's the mouse cord. Shit. So where's the audio cord extender thing? Here it is. Ta-da. Okay, Kuma, you can do this. So you unplug this and you plug it into this. Yes. And then on this side, you have two. Okay. One of these has got to be audio. I'm going to guess green. You put the green in there. Yeah. It's in. It's got a 50-50 chance of working. Please work. And it works. Great success. And then you let the extender go. Yay. And then I just zoom back.
8,471 years. Yeah, that's a long time. Given the gap, it would stand to reason that there's a fair number of events that take place in this time frame. And if you think so, hey, you'd be right. Unlike NieR, 2010 NieR, not 2021's NieR Replicant, NieR Automata does a bit better of a job of including some of the contextual side materials in the game itself. How are you meant to know what happens in NieR before the start of the game? Well, you better cough up 4,000 yen for that drama CD. Now you see, NieR Automata makes a good attempt to include some of the relevant details in the game itself. That being said, that's basically what it is, an attempt. You see, NieR Replicant's side material acquisition method is pretty straightforward. Grimoire NieR will contain the majority of the information, and if you want the maximum amount of detail, yeah, the drama CD might not be a bad purchase. Someone can ask, hey, I want to read the side content for myself, and you can easily point them in the right direction. Now,
you know what the best part about the drama CD is? Even if you buy it the official way, you don't have the subtitles. So you effectively have to either pirate it to get the subtitles, or you just have to like watch it on YouTube like we did. And I'm pretty sure Yoko Taro doesn't give a shit because he's just like, I want my world to be expanded. I don't care. Just do it. This doesn't do shit. Crap, what did I do? Do I do this? Does this stop the thing from doing the thing? God, I ruined this thing.
For NieR Automata,
were it so easy.
It really feels like Yoko Taro walked into a bookstore and fired off a shotgun blast, putting side stories into whatever got caught in the crossfire. Forget your standard paperbacks. The CD aisle took some heat, the video game strategy guide and art bookshelf took a hit, even the back room where they kept illegally recorded DVDs of Broadway productions didn't come out clean. So, once again, I've taken it upon myself to round up these things into a concise video and try and make some sense of it all. Obligatory, this is the third video in a short series I'm doing.
Wait. Did I just see her using two swords at the same time?
To round up these things into a concise video and try and make...
Oh my god, she's using two swords at the same time.
Make some sense of it all. Sorry, this is the third video in a short series I'm doing. Go watch the other ones if you haven't seen them and you're interested, or keep an eye out on this channel if you want to keep up with it as I go. Also, obligatory disclaimer that most of this doesn't happen within the game itself, instead in books and CDs, so the gameplay clips being shown can't always be relevant. There's also going to be an endless barrage of spoilers for both NieR Replicant and Automata from this point, so if you haven't played them and you don't want to be spoiled, be warned. Alright, let's kick this thing off. So, at the end of NieR Replicant, NieR kills the Shadow Lord, effectively dooming humanity, i.e. the Gestalts, to an inevitable fate of slowly relapsing one by one. Based off some comments I got on my other videos, I'm gonna do a quick explanation as to why this is. Basically, since NieR destroyed Grimoire Noir, there's no way for Project Gestalt to finish. Noir was instrumental, as him fusing with Weiss would fast snap the Gestalts back into their former bodies.
Goddamn book.
Obviously, no Noir means this plan is a no-go. Second, with the defeat of the Shadow Lord, who was the original Gestalt supplying his Shadow Lord juice preventing the other Gestalts from relapsing, the Gestalts, started relapsing, at a far quicker pace than they were before. Yeah, replicants could age, die, and be recreated by their respective Devla and Popola units, but this process becomes impossible once their Gestalt relapses, as their Gestalt's data is essential for creating the replicant. That, and when the Gestalt relapses, the replicant gets afflicted with the Black Scrawl. Replicants are biological in nature, but the one thing they can't do is reproduce. Not that they could do that as a long-term solution anyways, since they'd all be afflicted with the Black Scrawl eventually. Someone asked me, well that's great, but say Project Gestalt had gone off without a hitch. What do they plan to do about the whole not being able to reproduce thing after that?
I think the book you're thinking of is called The Giver.
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. I have no idea. My best guess is that they just plan to keep recreating themselves after that, but that's just a guess. So yeah, things were
So they've just basically become immortal. Motherfuckers.
looking pretty grim for humanity. Noticing this downward trend in the, existence of intelligent life in the universe as we know it, a bunch of androids took it upon themselves to create the Human Heritage Investigation Committee in the year 3627. This organization was created to investigate what little information they could about humanity, mostly by searching through old ruins. I hope you didn't commit valuable brain synapses to remembering that name, because it would quickly be changed to the equally verbose Human Heritage Reclamation Management Organization in 3631. Its goals changed from studying the ancient ruins of human settlements to actively preserving and restoring human culture, such as buildings. This would continue on for the next few hundred years. Then, in 4198, it finally happens. The curtain comes to a close. The wheels that Replicant NieR set into motion about 800 years prior have finally run their course. The last Gestalt goes extinct. No Gestalts means no replicants. No replicants means no humanity. The last human that has lived and ever will live has drawn their last breath. There are no humans on the moon, no humans hiding in a cave, that's it. They're gone. With that, android factories began shutting down one by one, and their populations began shrinking as well. Let's set a quick stage here. Androids were made by humans, for humans. If humans no longer exist, in the grand scheme of things, what purpose does an android that was created to serve humanity have? Their reason to exist went up in smoke, so logically, in their pre-programmed for a specific purpose minds, what was the point in continuing to build androids? When your reason to exist is gone, you have to adapt. You have to think of a new one, and oh boy isn't that extremely relevant to the whole game, damn. So, about 300 years later, in the 4510s, a group of androids found their reasons. They decided to exist for themselves, calling themselves independentists.
Here's what's beautiful. We live less than 100 years. And it's just like, well, around 300 years later. In our lifespan is a blink. We would never find out. We would finish aging and die 3-4 times over before this even happens. That's us. We're like a grain of sand in the universe.
And declaring no loyalty to humanity. Friction begins building between the pro and anti-humanity android groups, which seems kinda strange considering humanity's about as real as Polybius machines at this point. But let's put it this way. If your entire brain was devoted to serving humanity, you wouldn't stop even after they're gone. Even if the most you could do to serve them at this point is to silence the dudes talking shit. A small-scale civil war would break out between the two android factions, but it would be short-lived. Things settled down in about 2 weeks, and the independentists would establish their own android nation in Australia. With that out of the way, things would remain pretty calm for the next 500 years, till about the year 5012, with the androids that still supported humanity on a slow decline.
I love how everyone just uses Australia as a convenient plot device to where they can escape from the rest of the world. I have a house in Australia! Come join me! What? They're building their own nation in Australia. What? What, you guys act like Australian is this barren wasteland with no life in it. We have a kingdom of kangaroos, possums, wallabies, and koalas. and fucking snake and bird catching spiders. What, you think you're just gonna come here and build a nation? Oh yeah, like it's that fucking easy. Why do you think Australia was uninhabited for so long? Because no one was able to conquer nature. Yeah, you're just gonna build something here. Good luck with that.
Then, on July 4th, a bunch of alien ships suddenly appeared from outer space, parking their ships over major cities and declaring war on the... Oh, wait a minute, sorry, this isn't my script. It's the Wikipedia article for the 1996 film Independence Day. Huh, got a little distracted there. Anyways, where were we? Oh, right, yeah, I got it, okay. Then, on July 4th, a bunch of alien ships suddenly appeared from outer space, parking their ships over major cities and declaring war on the androids. Remember when I said the androids were looking for a reason to exist? Well, ding ding, guess what just flew in from outer space? Android production started ramping up significantly, and the pro-human factions organized to create the Army of Humanity. The whole alien invasion thing really did take the androids by surprise, however, so initially they lost a lot of ground. The Kingdom of the Night was completely lost to the alien forces, and they began to create factories of their own to produce their machine lifeform army. I should, probably explain the Kingdom of the Night, huh? So, what is the Kingdom of the Night, you might ask? Well, prior to the start of NieR Replicant, the Earth became tidally locked because the moon went and broke or something, stopping the day-night cycle. Let's not get into the actual science of how, absolutely cataclysmic that would be, and instead focus on what that means for the game.
Wait, you mean the sun is constantly burning? How does the grass exist? How do plants grow? How did all the water not evaporate? What do you mean there's no rain? What? How does that even?
Basically, the areas of North and South America are in constant nighttime, while everywhere else is in constant daytime. This would
Because Yoko Taro went, "Fuck America! You're nighttime now."
influence, for example, where android bases would be placed, like the bunker, which rotates along with the Earth to communicate with the androids that are operating in the daylight areas. This is also the in-game excuse as to why it's constantly daytime in both NieR Replicant and NieR Automata. How far each kingdom stretches is mostly unknown, with only North and South America being specifically designated as being in total darkness. Since France and Europe can be assumed to be in the Kingdom of the Day due to the androids having operations there later on, this would put Japan maybe on the fringes, explaining why it's kinda dark in the amusement park. Or at least, that's the explanation I'm going with. Oh, the game takes place in Japan, by the way. Automata and Replicant. Tokyo in particular. Just thought you should know that, in case you didn't. What with the aliens pulling off the equivalent of a Warhammer 2 Skaven active ambush on the androids, they decided to prepare for the worst case scenario. You know, total annihilation. The Human Heritage Reclamation Management Organization, hope you remembered them, built a storage facility on the moon to house all the human data they had accumulated over the years, just in case. Damn, I wonder if that's gonna lead to a lie that'll spiral out of control and influence the majority of the events of the game. Nah. It was around this time that they also started building space stations as home bases. Now thing is, I gotta come clean. I lied to you. I said every human died out about 1,000 years ago. That's like 99% true, but it's not technically the case. There's one human caught up in all this, putting in heavy work defending his home planet from alien invaders. You know who I'm getting at, it's Emil. Last we saw him was Ending E of NieR Replicant, where he was likely living a relatively peaceful life with his homies. It's around now where he would clone himself an endless number of times to fight off the aliens. This would cause him to lose his memories and end up in the state we meet him in during Automata. Hey, by the way, remember when I said this a few videos ago?
See, he pronounced it as NieR Automata, and people keep saying it's automata. Potato.
In October of 2011, the lab that was studying Angelus's body was broken into, and someone stole the dragon. Thing is, no one knows who did it.
That kind of sounds like a big plot device. Oh, you know, someone stole Angelus's body. Well, yeah, we haven't found out for 2 games. What?
Wonder if that'll be important. Yeah, turns out it does get brought up again, but it's super brief. Before the dragon was stolen, it was moved to an unknown facility outside of Japan. We can reasonably assume that this location was in North America, particularly the United States. We can make this assumption because in 6230, the Army of Humanity deployed a new weapon they called the Dragon in the Country of the Night to fight the alien army, which at this point was made up mostly of machine life forms. Not much more is known about the Dragon, the weapon, how they found it, or how it was deployed, but it can be reasonably concluded that the androids discovered it while the Human Heritage Reclamation Management Organization was investigating the remnants of humanity, and they turned it into a weapon to help in the war. Okay, so the next thing that happens in our timeline is something I just assumed was a quirky, low to mid-importance short story the first time I read it. And I held that assumption up until doubling down on research to make this video. But trust me, we in for some shit. I am now convinced that this story was probably one of the most significant events in the entire war. You might recall, if you watched some of my other videos, that I spoke about a story called The Flame of Prometheus in my second NieR Iceberg video. In Greek mythology, Prometheus was the Titan god of fire, well known for defying the Olympian gods and giving humanity the gift of fire. You might be wondering why I'm talking about Hades lore in this video. Well, if you know where this NieR short story goes, you're probably making the same face I was when I put 2 and 2 together. And I'm with you, but hold on a sec. Let's just catch everyone up to speed first. In the Greek lore, Prometheus giving fire to humanity enabled their advancement, bestowing them intelligence and allowing the progress of civilization. Keep that in mind while we switch back to NieR. The Flame of Prometheus short story starts off with BP, aka P-33, aka the robot boss you bodied in NieR Replicant. After you stomp his lil homie Khalil and render him effectively inoperable, he spends the next few thousand years regaining his strength. He begins fusing with all the other robots lying around the junk heap, not only absorbing their parts to repair himself, but
He's not dead?
adding their intelligence to his own. If you'll remember, Khalil's dream was to escape the junk heap with BP and see the sky. And while BP has absorbed so many minds within his own at this point that he doesn't remember the concrete details, he still has a single-minded drive to fulfill the promise he made.
See, I told that motherfucker that he was kicking the robot, he wasn't doing any damage.
In the year 7645, his preparations are finally complete, and he blasts off towards space in his new form. When he leaves the atmosphere, you know what he sees? A war being waged between the androids and the machine lifeforms, with him being right in the middle of it. Smack dab in the danger zone, BP was afraid of being destroyed. It was then he questioned why the machine lifeforms fought. He concluded that it's because they'd been ordered to. Without consciousness, they couldn't feel fear, so they didn't have any thoughts of self-preservation. BP did the only thing he could. He gave them consciousness. Prometheus gave fire to the humans. With their newfound ability to think and feel, you know what they did? They stopped fighting. You know what they did after that? They turned against the ones that ordered them to fight. That's why the aliens are long gone before NieR Automata begins. That's why the machines turned on their masters. They decided to live, a goal that was diametrically opposed with what the aliens wanted, for them to fight and conquer the Earth. And they went and did it. Their creators refused to acknowledge their desire to live, so they fought for their right to do so.
I want more life, fucker! So this is what happens when civilization turns on their slave masters in the government and corporations. Eat the rich, motherfucker!
Eventually eliminating the aliens. Whether they wiped out the alien race completely, or only the ones currently stationed near Earth is up for debate, but the main takeaway is that by this point, the aliens are completely out of the picture. These events would lead to the longest period of nothing in the NieR timeline. By this point, about 80% of the Earth had been conquered by the machine lifeforms, but after this, their activities stopped almost completely. The army of humanity would attempt to reclaim territory over the years, to which the machines would fight back in self-defense, but their campaigns always ended in failure. This period of relative nothing would continue on for about 4,000 years, until the year 11502. 11502? 11,502? How do you say a 5-digit year anyways? Just goes to show what a small amount of fiction actually takes place this far in the future. That aside, a weird floating city the machine lifeforms built suddenly shows up in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, which the androids codename, wait for it, Atlantis. It only sticks around for about 2 years before disappearing again, but 120 years later, something else shows up from under the sea.
ずいですよ。ここを離脱しましょう。
A behemoth-class android, something we fight in the game as Grunge, shows up and absolutely team-wipes every android within a 10-kilometer radius. The machines were on the attack again, and the question on everyone's minds is, why? Well, we don't have a concrete answer for this, but it's likely after thousands of years of enduring android attacks, they began to see them as a threat to their survival, same as the aliens were, and they acted in self-defense. The androids just couldn't help stirring up shit, but it's not entirely their fault. How were they supposed to know about the internal affairs of the other faction? It's kinda ironic, isn't it? Neither side is actually the enemy of the other. Both sides are just following out the orders of creators that are long gone. The aliens ordered the machines in their initial assault, and not knowing the circumstances, the androids attempted to fulfill the wills of their creators, the humans, to protect what was left of them and the Earth. One thing that stuck out to me during a recent replay of Automata was how a lot of machines in the early game basically begged you not to kill them, and 9S was just like, haha, sure is funny how they put those random words together in a sentence like that. The machines were slowly starting to learn from humanity, which included stuff like the desire for self-preservation. And you know what's probably not a good idea when you're going for the whole self-preservation thing? Oh yeah, that massive robot in the ocean we can't control that keeps curb-stomping machines and androids. Grun would continue to wreak havoc for about a month when the machines would try to seal him in the ocean near the Izu-Ogasawara Trench. That's here, by the way, south of the Izu Peninsula and near the Ogasawara Islands in Japan. Fun fact of the day, the Ogasawara Islands are technically considered to be part of Tokyo. Sealing him away would work until he showed up during the events of the game, but for now, he's out of the picture. Over the next few years, there would be a few minor happenings going on. Things like the Forest Kingdom being founded by a lone Goliath-type machine named Ernst, the formation of the Resistance, including the introduction of Anemone, a character we get to know well in the game, and, I mean, of course, the most minor event, the foundation of YorHa. Hang on a second. So, YorHa kinda seems like it's been around forever, but that's not quite the case. The groundwork for YorHa was laid around 11,815, but it wouldn't be until 11,932 that anything with the name YorHa would be in operation. For those of you keeping track at home, that's only 13 years before the main game begins. Now, the foundation of YorHa is a long story, with a bit of speculation included, and while I could get into it now, I think similarly with my Everything Before NieR Replicant and Project Gestalt videos, I wanted to have its own space to breathe. So, I'll be dedicating a separate video to it. For now, all you gotta know is YorHa was founded, and they immediately went aggro on the machines, perpetuating the lie that humanity is all safe and sound chilling on the moon. In 11,939, the 14th Machine War breaks out. You might be thinking, hang on, what happened to 1 to 13? And you're probably not alone in that thought. In the timeline, only 3 Machine Wars are ever specifically mentioned in any official capacity. The 1st, the 8th, and the 14th. The first is obvious. It's that thing I explained to you about, 10 minutes ago or something. The 8th was the one where Anemone originally made her debut, also known as the 8th Descent Operation. In this war, pretty much the only notable thing that happens is the formation of the android guerrilla army, the Resistance. Yeah, trust me, I know what you're thinking. I hear the words guerrilla army, and I know exactly where my brain goes with it. The 14th and final Machine War is the one that spills over into the events of the main game. For this war, it's probably best to dust off your old history textbook and flip to the chapter covering World War II, because that's pretty much exactly what Yoko Taro did when he was writing it. Basically, from this point on, the last 2 digits of the year, as well as the date, will line up with major events from the years 1939 to 1945. And I'll take whatever excuse I can to not have to say any more 5-digit years for the rest of this video. Speaking of Anemone, Anemone, when she first meets 2B, she calls her number 2. Side note, we're like 20 minutes into a NieR Automata video, and I'm just now mentioning 2B for the first time. If that ain't a record, I don't know what is. So, yeah, number 2, while being coincidentally accurate to 2B's name, isn't quite correct. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out in retrospect that Anemone probably mistook 2B for A2. So, how do Anemone and A2 know each other anyways? Well, for the answer to that question, please flip to the events of December 8th, 1945 in your history books. That's right, Pearl Harbor. Did I also mention that all this takes place in the contents of a stage play? Oh yeah, we're going there. On December 8th, YorHa launched the Pearl Harbor descent mission, spearheaded by A2 and a group of 15 other experimental androids. These androids were experimental because their personality types were based on data gathered from humans, specifically memory data. A2 in particular had memories based on a human that had a lone wolf personality type and a strong connection to their grandmother. My legal team has insisted that I point out while A2 has many connections to Kaine, the link has never been specifically confirmed, so it's technically speculation. So if you keep up with NieR lore, you probably know that the best laid plans in the NieR universe tend to go pretty poorly. I'll give you, say, 10 seconds to guess how the Pearl Harbor descent mission went down. Yeah, pretty fucking poorly.
That
like,
elevator
12 of the
scene.
16 androids getting stomped before they even touch ground kinda poorly. When the remaining 4 meet up with Anemone and the Resistance, the latter are pretty disenfranchised with these YorHa people sitting cozy in their space bunker thinking they're the hottest new face of the androids. The Resistance had been abandoned on the Earth for a long while, and they'd grown pretty resentful of command. To sum it up, A2 and the Funky Bunch are given a mission to climb a mountain and ascend an elevator, leading to a machine control room. If they can get it out in one piece, this control room had the ability to shut down every machine operating in the Pacific Theater. So, in NieR Automata, command is kinda shady. They know a lot more than they let on, and they aren't too keen on sharing with the class. Well, in the stage play, command upgrades from pretty shady to palm tree on a desert island kinda shady. Command full-on intends for this mission to fail, and for the squad to get totally wiped out, citing the whole thing as a scenario. Pretty cold, if you ask me. Now, if Command expects the androids to get wiped out, why send them in at all? Well, give it a quick think. Yeah, every YorHa android has a little nuke snugly fashioned inside their chest, a part salvaged from the machine lifeforms, the black box. If just one of them made it to the server room, they could detonate themselves and take it out in one go. Okay, not a bad plan. But here's the thing. None of these first-gen androids knew about the black box. So, upon finding out that was the real plan, and also finding out that they had a machine part stuffed inside her, A2 was probably reasonably, upset. Fortunately, her and some of the Resistance members managed to bail out and survive, but this would lead to A2 being branded as a traitor by Command and designated for termination. A2 would be hunted by other androids from this point up until the main game. This stage play would lead into the events of the Beasts of Slaughter recital drama. The content touched on here involves how A2 is being pursued by YorHa over the next few years. The first android they sent after her was 2B. Yeah, I bet you didn't see that coming. A2 managed to beat 2B and escape, leading to Command to send 9S after her next, who she also sent packing. Okay, I know what you're thinking. When 2B and 9S meet A2 in the Forest Kingdom, 9S acts like he's heard of her before, but never directly met her, and 2B seems like she has no idea who A2 is at all. What's up with that? Well, since A2 destroyed 2B and 9S in their previous encounters, their memories didn't make it up back with them, meaning for them, it really is like they're meeting A2 for the first time. Remember that synchronizing memory data with the bunker is something done specifically by scanner-type units. This also takes a while. I mean, when 9B and 2S... That's a mistake, but I'm leaving that in. When they detonated their black boxes to take out the Goliath machines, remember that 9S only had enough time to send one of their memories back, and he picked 2B. It's a time-consuming, specialized process, which explains why they didn't have enough time to do it when A2 beat their shit in. So when they encounter A2 in the Forest Kingdom, she knows exactly who they are. Oh boy, does she know. This gives that initial scene where they meet A2 and A2 no mercy's a baby like that one scene from the Punisher comic a little more weight in retrospect. Next up, we have our second stage play titled YorHa Boys, aka YorHa Lads. This one involves a group of male androids who were like, you know what's cool? Coup d'etats. Yeah, even saying that's cool. As you might expect, YorHa Boys is about a squad of, well, YorHa Boys. A group of units designated as M-types. I'll give you less than one guess about what the M means. So what did I mean about the whole coup d'etat thing? Well, similarly to A2 in the last stage play, some of the YorHa boys got an inkling of a clue that Command didn't really give a shit about them. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like Command does these things because of the Joker, it's because with the repeated death of the units, they can get better and better battle data, allowing them to create stronger models. The lads come up with a plan to escape to the Kingdom of the Night, a place, which you'll remember, Command has no ability to monitor. Unfortunately, this plan is opposed by their YorHa voting counterparts, and a little scuffle breaks out. Not helped by the fact one of the boys, number 2, is low-key an executioner-type model. In the end, due to the fact they have trouble working together, the male models were designated as failures. But not completely. They were salvaged and redesignated as scanner-type units, explaining why all scanners are males and also explaining why they usually work alone, as stated by 9S in the intro. Did I mention who one of the units was? That's right, Albert Einstein. I mean number 9.
人類に栄光あれ。
NANI?!
No official beating over the back of the head that this number 9 is the proto version of the 9S we know in the game, or at all related to the number 9 that did the YorHa thing I promise we'll get into next time, we can reasonably assume it is. Before we get to the real important stuff about 2B and 9S, let's clear up 2 miscellaneous short stories, as well as one music video that...
If you haven't read the story of A2's mission, it's in the game. Fucking do it. I had chills reading the elevator scene. Fuck. After reading that, I'm like, I totally get how A2 feels about the situation. I totally empathize.
That don't have an exact place in the timeline, but likely happen shortly before the game starts. First up, we have a much too silent C. This one is about YorHa Unit 10H, a lone android stationed alone in an underwater facility with her pod. If you'll remember, the letter in YorHa units' names designates their model type, for example S and 9S being Scanner, and B and 2B being Battler. The H in 10...
I love how it's like execution. A combat model specifically designed for anti-android operations are covertly deployed and given another type designation, charged with monitoring and if need be eliminating androids who have violated YorHa's policies in some way, including those at risk of their process of deserting, and those in unauthorized possession of classified information. E models seem to be functioning similar to 2B models, regardless of their designation. If someone was to read this without finishing NieR Automata, they would have been spoiled so hard. Because it's so... They operate alone. Why is 2B without a team? Like, it would have been too... Fuck. Gunner. Specialize in long-range combat. Obsolete, but known to have present among YorHa android prototypes deployed during the Pearl Harbor descent. I'd like operating long range.
10H designated Healer, a type of android specializing in repairing damaged units and uploading black box data to the bunker, something 9S can do as well. The purpose of the underwater facility was to serve as a backup for most essential YorHa data, such as the data regarding humanity. See, even YorHa knows Yo's back up your files. Maybe. You'll see. 10H has been alone in this facility for a long time, and the isolation is starting to get to her. The facility can be maintained by the pods, but she's stationed there just in case any of them need repairs. The conflict starts when 10H's fingers begin malfunctioning. It'll be a long time before YorHa Amazon can make their next delivery to her facility, so she does some quick patch-up work to keep her going for the time being. Thing is, she notices that there's some strange code in her mind space, code that leads to coordinates inside the base. She follows these coordinates to the exit hatch, when suddenly her pod flips the script and attacks her. She gains the upper hand, but it sends a signal to every other pod in the facility to take her out. She seals the door, but she's left with 2 choices. Open the valve to the exit hatch and be crushed by 10,000 tons of water pressure, or open the door and be killed by an army of pods. In the end, she goes with the hatch, opening the door and bracing herself for the deluge of water that's about to rush in.
There's no water, is there?
Except it never comes. There's no water at all.
The chill down my fucking spine.
Just endless white sand in every direction. She looks up and sees the Earth. She's on the moon. It's then she realizes the truth. She's not maintaining backup data from the humans on the moon. There are no humans on the moon. It's just her. Everything in her facility is all that's left of humanity. Crushed by the revelation and accepting defeat, she takes solace in the fact she won't remember any of this when she's reconstructed, and surrenders to the pods. Before she's taken out, she leaves a clue in the blank space of her mind. Coordinates for her next incarnation to find.
Oh my god! And Yoko Taro just like, I'm gonna leave this in the middle of fucking nowhere. Breadcrumbs, motherfucker!
The next is a short story called Small Flowers. The story centers around a machine that calls himself I, who finds some flower seeds in some ruins. Being the absolute genius he is, him and the machine network conclude that these flowers must be the ultimate anti-android weapon, so I is tasked with growing them. Dude legit just sat there and watched a flower grow for months on end.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the highlight of the stream. This is corporate. This describes corporate perfectly.
The next is a short story called Small Flowers. The story centers around a machine that calls himself I, who finds some flower seeds in some ruins. Being the absolute genius he is, him and the machine network conclude that these flowers must be the ultimate anti-android weapon, so I is tasked with growing them. Dude legit just sat there and watched a flower grow for months on end, reading the Harvest Moon Player's Guide or something to get the information on how to properly care for it.
Clip that. That is the greatest thing. Is this a seed? The ultimate weapon. Wow. Wow. This is like something Yoko Taro came up with while he was wiping his ass on the toilet. Where's my cough? I haven't coughed all stream. What the fuck's going on? I must not be the Kuma from yesterday. I must be a Kuma whose soul was put into this body.
After being caught up in a battle with the androids near the flower, I was busted up pretty bad, and so was the flower. Side note, holy shit does Yoko Taro like flower symbolism in his games.
I know, right?
Add another one to the bingo sheet, boys. I was initially pretty put off by the whole thing, but after watching the flower regrow its lost parts, he doubled down on caring for it, initiating his own self-repair process. Thing is, you know what happens every year without fail? For approximately 1/4 of the year? Yeah, winter. I'm not a botanist, but last I checked, I don't think flowers like the winter. The flower was starting to wither, and I could never get his hands on the android destruction codes if the flower were to die. At first, he tried aiming a heater at it, but the flower was clearly on its way out. He did the last thing he could, covering the plant with his body to wait out the winter. For a completely backwards, senseless reason, I gave everything he could to protect this flower, stating that he had infinite time to do so. Yeah, we can all look at this and be like, damn, them machines sure are stupid, but the machines were still learning from zero. Things not related to battle were relatively new on the discovery scale for them at this point, so cut them a little slack. I mean, the way the machines that disconnected from the network overcame the concept of death and their newfound discovery of it was to believe that when a machine stopped functioning, it became a god. So, not the craziest thing I've heard in the last 10 minutes.
Valhalla awaits!
As for what happens in the music video, I'll let my past self do a quick explanation for the next minute or two. So, take it away. Me? The DLC comes with this short story called Plato 1728. It's about a robot named, Plato 1728. A pacifist robot with an anime figure collection. One day, a battle comes to the home front and his androids go up in smoke like a fire in the Ami warehouse. This leads him to making a super rational judgment call where he goes berserk and kills his enemies and his allies. Parroting anti-video game news outlets in the early 2000s, the machines decided that dolls were the cause of the violence and proceeded to dispose of them. This is all told as a backdrop to a music video of a song called Deserving a Life by Japanese rock band Amazarashi, making it one of the more logical mediums NieR plot details are conveyed to the player. Just before I get into the 2B9S stuff, I'm legally obligated to mention the last piece in the timeline that happens before the game starts. On February 10th, 11/9/45, an intrusion is discovered in the bunker's servers, but the records of this discovery are quickly erased. Could be related to the backdoor place in the bunker's servers that allowed the machines to get in. But if it is related to anything specifically, I gotta admit I'm drawing a blank right now. Coincidentally, February 10th is also the date that the walls of Jericho surrounding Shinjuku fell in the year 2010. Firewall, concrete wall, it's all the same thing if you think about it. If you've played NieR Automata, which, I mean, at this point, you probably have, I think. If you haven't, how has this whole video been so far? Are you lost? I mean, don't leave, you'll miss out on the good stuff. Anyways, you'll know that 2B and 9S have a very special relationship. And by special, I mean 2B kills 9S on a pretty frequent basis.
Harder, daddy. I mean, mommy, whatever floats your goat.
Yeah man, been there. Being inherently curious, he can't stop himself from accessing secret YorHa files.zip and browsing through the command's forbidden stash. If that stuff got out, it'd be the end of YorHa, and possibly all the androids. So when this happens, 2B, aka 2E, has to take him out. Why do they keep remaking him if he's this much trouble? That's a real good question. How many times has 2B killed 9S before the start of the game? Well, let's think about that for a sec. We know 9S was first activated about 3 years before the start of NieR Automata. Judging by the NieR Automata collab quest from NieR Reincarnation, which we'll get into in a sec, it seems that 9S has been killed by 2B at least a dozen times, if not more. I'm pulling this out of my ass, but I'm throwing down that 9S gets team killed by 2B on a bi-monthly basis. That's once every 2 months, not twice a month, by the way. 3 of these instances take place during the side stories Memory Cage, Memory Thorn, and the before-mentioned Reincarnation collab quest. Let's tackle these in chronological order, starting with Memory Cage. Something I didn't notice before now is that Memory Cage and Memory Thorn's first quarter is an almost identical set of events, which really threw me through a loop when I brushed up on them for this video, I'll tell you that much. For that reason, I think it's best to consider Cage and Thorn as multiple outcomes for the same events, hammering in the cyclical nature of 2B and 9S's turbulent relationship. In Memory Cage, 2B and 9S are investigating a set of ruins in the desert, widely speculated to be the desert temple NieR Facade from NieR Replicant. 9S dashes into a room, and 2B uses the opportunity to take him by surprise and stealth kill him before he can see it coming. Despite 9S's memory being wiped every time he's remade, in this instance, he foresaw the attack coming and set up a trap for 2B. The most commonly accepted idea is that something has started to remain in his memory after being done in by 2B so many times. He can't clearly recall who she really is or what she does, but he has a feeling, almost like an instinct, about what goes down. The best evidence for this is how 9S's story plays out in the tower at the end of the game, when A2 tells him that 2B is 2E, and he kinda seems like he already knows. While 2B does get the upper hand on him in combat, he hacks into her and actually manages to turn the tide. Thing is, scanner models? Hacking something? Damn, never thought of that possibility. Foreseeing this outcome, the commander outfitted 2B with a logic virus, designed to counterattack 9S in the event he managed to hack into her.
So that shit was just sitting there dormant like a cancer. Oh, son of a whore!
Just as quickly as he'd gained the advantage, he had lost it. He was booted out of 2B's mind and quickly dealt with. Memory Thorn starts off almost identically to Memory Cage, with 2B and 9S investigating the desert ruins. It diverges within the temple. Instead of 9S dashing into a room by himself, the pair are ambushed by a gang of machines, despite it specifically being stated that the chances of running into machine lifeforms was 0. In the ambush, the machines managed to infect 2B with a logic virus, prompting 9S to hack into her to try to remove it before she could say, haha, maybe that ain't a good idea. Why? No reason. Once inside 2B, you can pretty much guess what 9S saw. A video of the commander telling 2B to ice his ass the second she gets a chance. 9S jumped out at 2B, and she confirmed with him what he saw. Thing is, big twist, this time around, 2B refused to kill 9S, instead asking him to kill her, to spare her from having to repeat the cycle. Knowing that him and 2B could only continue to meet again if he was destroyed, he turns 2B's sword on himself to save her from having to make the choice. If 2B's taken out, she'll be deemed a failure and she won't be remade. If 9S is taken out, well, I mean, that's just a Tuesday. Last up is the Reincarnation collab quest, which follows a similar structure to Thorn, except instead of a temple, it's a cave. Same events, but when 2B's infected with a logic virus, 9S jumps into her mind, only to see a bunch of memories of him winning a free sword in his chest in multiple different scenarios. Thing is, this time when he jumps out, I guess he figures he'd probably be better off filing that shit in a list of things I should pretend I didn't see, as he doesn't bring it up with her, making the ending play out differently from last time. The question on my mind is, 2B obviously knows what he saw up in there, so is she also staying silent about it? There's no official mention of when this particular event takes place on the timeline, so let's say for argument's sake it happens after Memory Thorn. 2B is obviously pretty fed up with having to take out 9S on a regular basis, so
9S is a 2B simp.
So maybe, by pretending she doesn't know what he saw, they can just sweep the whole incident under the rug. What command don't know don't hurt him, right?
When you accidentally stumble onto your partner's hardcore German porn collection.
Anyways, that's about it, I guess. A summary of every major event that happened in between the credits rolling in NieR Replicant to the intro playing out in NieR Automata. No Johns.
Please, no Johns.
But this is easily the longest script I've ever written, which explains why it took me a while to get it out. As of recording this voice line, I don't know how long the video is gonna be when I've edited and put the whole thing together, but thanks for watching all the way through. If you're, hearing this right now, I mean. If you skip straight to this point and are listening to this, I mean, I can't say I understand your video watching methods, but I respect them. Like I said, YorHa's Foundation is gonna get its own video, so keep an eye out for that. I hope it'll be out relatively soon. Next video to come out is gonna be non-NieR related, and I beseech thee, viewer, to give that a peep when it drops. Anyways, offer from the NieR Iceberg video still stands. 1 million likes, and I'll release my karaoke cover of Way to the World, so do with that information what you will. Thanks for watching, till next time.
He's a 2B simp. Why German? Because, you know, hardcore porn in Germany are a thing. I think. Wow. So it's like, I'm going to get iced by 2B, but I want to meet her again. Thus continues the cyclical nature from ending E. Wow. 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 Life is simply unfair, isn't it? Wow. Is that Nero? Yes, it is, and he's wearing a face mask. Okay, so that wraps up NieR Replicant. Amazing game. We will at some point need to replay Automata or Automata or whatever. But that's going to be a separate thing. We have lots of fun coming in the near future. Man, asking for a rating? It is so fucking hard to rate the game. It is... It's difficult because it's integrated itself so much that it's gone beyond ratings. Because it's just transcending the typical expectation when it comes to gaming. It breaks way beyond the medium. It goes beyond the game. While a lot of games will stick to the game and you might occasionally get, you know, like an audio CD with one track or a song, the songs have meaning. This game in particular has songs written about it. It has stories written for it. It has stage plays created, and then it has all this stuff in the background, which is literally breadcrumbs. While a lot of other games you can effectively figure out everything that's going on from the game. It's there. You can unlock it, and I'm thinking of MGS here really quickly. You can unlock it in the game. If you unlock everything in the game, you will get all the audio files, and you can piece it together. It's a big rabbit hole, but you can piece it together. Whereas NieR, on the other hand, there's little bits and pieces scattered everywhere. Not just in the game, not just in the grimoire, not just in the audio CD, not just in the stage play. It is literally everywhere. But somehow, it links together. It's nuts. It's amazing. It's insane. I haven't even played Drakengard. I've seen the analysis video that Clems does on Drakengard, but I haven't played Drakengard. There's seeing a video on it and then there's playing it. So I don't even have the full breadth of the universe. I have the NieR and NieR Automata part of it, which is a joke ending of a broader universe. And it, in itself, self-contained, is amazing. So it goes way beyond the usual linear storylines, which, by the way, are still good. There are linear stories which are still damn good. You've got Resident Evil, you've got Devil May Cry, you've got Metal Gear Solid, you've got awesome games with linear stories, do not get me wrong. But this is in a completely different class of its own. The universe within the game is so dense and thick and broad. And we haven't even begun to scratch the surface. And I get it gives Yoko Taro a lot of creative liberties if he wants to make a spin-off. If he wants to make a game of different characters set in the same world, he can. He has given himself enough creative liberties, but I have to give damn credit to the fact that he's managed to weave it in together so well with these little side stories, because some of these little side stories are things that he wanted to create, but it doesn't fit into the main arc of the character, so he creates a side story of, you know, a little character, whether it be, you know, the red-hooded assassin girl in the Amnesia quest, or A2 that's a supporting character, you know, that is playable at the end. There's all these things. NieR Reincarnation came out. I wonder when Clem's going to make a video. He'll definitely make a video. I'm not going to play it because mobile games, I can't be fucked. But I would definitely watch videos on it and cutscenes and things like that. But would I play it? No. Mobile games is somewhere where I draw the line. But... and another reason why it's so difficult to rate NieR Replicant is... as a base game, it's really good, but it takes so much of its impact from its linkage to Automata. I don't recall what rating I gave Automata, but I think if I was to replay it, knowing what happens in Replicant, it would be higher. Same way now when you're asking me to give a rating to Replicant, it's getting pushed up because of Automata. But when you're giving a rating to a game, you should really make it a standalone rating. And that's difficult to do because the two games feel like chapter A, chapter B. They're not separate. They're like, you know, here's the several chapters in the book. We're talking about the past where we have OG NieR, then Grimoire Noir, then we have Grimoire Vice, then Everything Ends, then you've got Automata, then you've got... it's basically chapters of the same story. It's not like game one, you know, where you're like, game one is set on this place, and then, you know, 10 years later, someone sinks a tanker in the middle of the Hudson River, and they build a oil facility, and then the third game is in the past, in the Soviet Union, and then the fourth game is, you know, set in the, you know, 2016, 2018 when you're an old man. This is like same place, different time, part of the same story. It hits different. I think I gave it 8 or 5 or 9 out of 10. And I gave it that prior to Replicant. So as a standalone, its impact hit hard without Replicant. I reckon now with Replicant, it would be at least a 9.5 for Autonoma. If we played it now, knowing Replicant, Automata would hit 9.5 at a minimum. And the only reason I don't give 10s is because it's difficult to say that something is perfect. I'm very reluctant to ever say a game is perfect. Because saying something is perfect means that it can't be improved. And I don't believe that exists for anything. It's very difficult to say something cannot be improved. And I don't really like that line of thinking. It's so finite. It's perfect, don't touch it. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, I don't like that course of thinking. I want people to keep thinking, to keep improving, to keep adding. That's how you get DLC. That's how you get, you know, re-releases, Gold Edition, Platinum Edition. That's how you get NieR Replicant version 1.22. They took what was existing, they tweaked, they added a little bit, and it made it so much richer. That's why I'm do not give 10 out of 10s. I don't care how much you like it. Do not limit it. That being said, I did give Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood a 10 out of 10 on the anime, and I explained why I did that. Things can be improved, but because it's a standalone series with a beginning and an end, and it's sort of stuck in that bubble, the beginning and the end, and you can just cut there and you don't touch anything else, that slice can be a 10 out of 10. But when you're working with a world like this, that's relating to multiple games which are like chapters of the same story in a broader universe, I don't want to give it a 10 because by making that slice untouchable, you're restricting the rest of the universe that you're creating. And I don't want to do that. I never want to promote that. That's just stopping innovation and thinking, and you never want to limit that. That's what stops people from doing a prequel game. That's what stops people from tying in a, oh shit moment. So that's what that meant in the game 10 years ago moment. You don't want to do that. So, NieR Replicant, fuck. it's like 9.5. It's there. It's basically there. It's got, I mean, fucking music I would give 10. Because music either is or it isn't. It's the songs that it has. It's the music and the emotion that it conveys. It's definitely a 10 with what it's done. That being said, they could always add an additional song and a remix. But the existing song's fucking beautiful. When it comes to the art style and everything, it's good. For the technology that it has, it's good. The only disappointment is it doesn't have native 4K. It doesn't have native 4K. And in today's day and age, that's something that could be improved. That being said, it's released on PlayStation 4. So what we're probably going to get is going to be a re-release later on PlayStation 5 with a possible DLC. If they don't, wasted potential. Because it's native to PlayStation 4 and not native to 4K. So, room for improvement already. When it comes to story, fucking beautiful, phenomenal, love it to bits. Characters, love them to bits. Dialogue, love it to bits. Side quests, they should be mandatory. So many of the side quests add so much to the experience, and editing it out now with hindsight adds even more to the experience. Replay value through the roof. You saw how much I wanted to replay the first part of the game to get Jonas cooking. Even replaying it one last time would probably add a little bit to the experience. It's like fucking easy 9.5. Easy 9.5. Biggest minus is not native 4K, not available for PlayStation 5 on release. That's the only thing. I haven't touched the PC version because Automata was like fucking shit on PC original release. They just recently patched it years after it was released, which I think it's a big, really, dude? I mean, games like this, I want to experience in their full glory. We did not go out and buy a $600 4K capture card and have me literally whoring myself on the internet to buy these things to film in 4K for a game not to be native in 4K. I'm not whoring myself here on the internet every weekend to cut corners on graphics. If DMC can do it, NieR can do it. If Final Fantasy can do it, looking at you, Square Enix, NieR can do it. NieR's selling like hotcakes. Add a 0 to the budget. Do it. That's all I'm saying. Fucking Final Fantasy VII Remake looked phenomenal. 4K 30 FPS, now it's 4K 60 FPS. How about you give some of that money to NieR? I give some of that goddamn money to NieR. You put a NieR song in the Olympics. Give NieR some love, baby. Give NieR some love. That's all I'm saying. So that's why I'm always reluctant to give any game a perfect rating, because I don't believe a game can be perfect. Am I going to say games like MGS are perfect? No. Am I going to say games like Devil May Cry are perfect? No. Am I going to say games like other things are perfect? No. They're pretty damn good, but they're not perfect. This is pretty damn good, but it's not perfect. And I think that's fair. I reckon that's fair. The storyline, music, gameplay, all that stuff, really good. But there's always a little bit that can be added. And there is always that constraint of, well, we could add this, but release gets blown out by a few months. Or the budget gets blown out by a few months. Or this takes 2 months. And I completely understand that. As someone that works in corporate, I completely understand that. At the same time, give it like a similar of year of YorHa release, 4K native, PlayStation 5. I'll give it a play.
Vice, you dumbass! Start making sense, you rotten book, or you're gonna be sorry! Maybe I'll rip your pages out one by one, or maybe I'll put you in the goddamn furnace! How can someone with such a big smart brain get hypnotized like a little bitch, huh? Oh, Shadow Lord, I love you, Shadow Lord! Come over here and give Vice a big sloppy kiss, Shadow Lord! Now pull your head out of your goddamn ass and start fucking helping us!